Pope and Young Club wants to welcome you as we rally together to ensure our bow hunting opportunities for today and tomorrow. You've come to the podcast that believes in preserving, protecting, and promoting the passion for bow hunting. Join us as we strive to be the voice of today's bow hunter. This is the Pope and Young Podcast.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Pope and Young Podcast. Jason Roundsville here, joined as always by my co-host Dylan Ray, and we have with us the one, the only Chuck Adams. Chuck, welcome back.
Thank you, Jason. It's great to be here.
Hey, we are so happy to have you. We were just talking just off camera a minute ago, and so you've had some exciting stuff happen since the last time that we've had you on. And once again, Dylan and I take 100% credit that every time Chuck comes on the podcast, he goes out and shoots another world record. So far, yes. You're holding true to that. So, we appreciate you being on, and I cannot wait to hear some
Jason,
of the story.
what do you do if he shoots a world record when we're in Oklahoma? How does that even, what are we going to do as human beings? How do me and you handle that?
That's going to be a mic drop. We're just going to, that will be our last podcast episode.
I think we're just done. Yeah. We quit while we're ahead on that one.
Although the other way is then we could do it the other way. And we could say, hey, you know what? Chuck has, this is his, fourth or fifth world record. This is his fifth time being on the podcast. It's his fifth world record. You know what? If you'd like to come on the podcast and potentially shoot world records, we're taking bids. We could auction that off. I mean, if he does that while we're in Oklahoma, we're just going to auction off the next podcast episode.
Yeah. So I think we're getting to the point where we can even say, if you listen to the podcast with Chuck, you have a chance of shooting a new world record. I think we're getting to that status almost.
Luke Brewster would agree with that.
Yeah.
So, well, Chuck, last time we had you on, we were talking about your new Sitka world record typical deer.
Correct.
And so this past season, you were up, and what area were you hunting? Is it safe to say where you were up there?
Well, I don't tell you exactly where I hunt, but I was in the Kodiak Island area.
Kodiak Island hunting. Yep. And were you specifically targeting non-typicals, or were you just hunting deer?
I was targeting non-typicals, Jason. I had a guy ask me the other day how on earth I could do so well on non-typicals, and he said I must be the luckiest guy in the world. And I told him what I'm about to tell you. There's only one spot. I've been to Kodiak Island 18 times. There's only one spot where I'd ever seen more than one non-typical buck. They're very, very rare in most places on the island. So I went back there deliberately in early August, trying to find non-typicals, and I scoured the country for an entire month. I did get lucky because on about the 8th of the month, I shot a 96 plus. That's the net final score deer. Beat Jack Frost's former world record by over 6 points. And then in the middle of
that was on day 8.
So
you've got a month-long hunt.
Mm-hmm.
You're targeting non-typicals, which, and I haven't hunted Sitka blacktails, but I've hunted Columbia blacktails my entire life. And I haven't seen, and I've seen thousands and thousands of blacktail bucks, and I haven't seen 5 non-typicals in 50 years. I mean, when people hear they're rare, these things are pretty rare. And I've heard very similarly that the Sitkas are there's places you can go and you just never see a non-typical at all, like you're talking about. So I think it's where you targeted a specific area going for a I think that's just fantastic.
Well, Sitkas are very territorial. And so I reasoned before I went up there that the same deer that I might have seen in the past would be there and maybe bigger. But I can honestly tell you, I've only seen half a dozen non-typical Sitka deer in the last 40 years. And I went to that spot, and that was the genetic honey hole. I saw another nice non-typical in the middle of the month, and I got him, and he scored a little over 93 points, which beats Jack Frost by over 3 points. And then I just kept hunting until the 26th of the month. And that's when I came around a corner, and there was the monster, the one I could consider the best animal I've ever shot with a bow.
Now, can you say that one more time? So you consider this non-typical Sitka your biggest trophy with the bow and arrow?
I definitely do. Everything's relative. A big mule deer, even a big Columbia blacktail, is a lot bigger than a Sitka deer. But this deer has more net points than any Sitka ever recorded by Pope and Young in any category.
That's crazy.
It beats the old world record if the score holds at panel next month. It beats the old world record by over 27 inches. And it's 30% larger at the present time than Jack Frost's world record. So it's out of this world. And since I love hunting Sitka so much, and know relatively what a big Sitka is, this is, I think, the best animal I've ever shot with a bow.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but Tim said that if the number holds, then that's the biggest net record ever broken. It's broken the current record by more than any other record that's ever been broken before.
I would not be surprised. I hadn't heard that.
I believe that's the fact. And guys, again, this is all if the numbers hold up, next month in Reno at panel. But that's just insane.
To put this into perspective, I know for a fact Chuck has over 200 animals in the record book, and that's probably only a percentage of the animals that you've taken. So do you have an idea of how many animals you've taken, how many big game animals you've taken with your bow?
I really don't, Jason. I'm sure it's over 500. When I was in California, if you count wild boar, which of course aren't eligible for Pope and Young, I probably shot 200 wild boar with my bow. The limit was one a day when I grew up, and so that was the training ground. But animals that would qualify by species for Pope and Young, I'm sure it's over 500.
Wow.
And 220 exactly now are officially in Pope and Young.
Okay, so 220 in the books, which is the number one. Over 500 big game, and I have a feeling you're being conservative on that number. Several world records. There's like 5. Is that 5 and 6 world records?
Seven actually. And Fred Barrow's my boyhood hero. He had 5 world records, and I think the next one down, aside from me, is Jack Frost. He had 2 world records. Wow. And I just 2021 got number 6, and last year 2022 I got hopefully number 7. It looks like it'll hold up. So that's amazing.
And so I think, that in and of itself is just a tremendous story because you're such a storied bow hunter for decades. And then when you talk about a trophy, because a lot of people will be like, oh, well, you're, the trophy that you're the most proud of or that stands out has to be something, like a 70-inch moose or a, big mule deer or a big whitetail or something. And when you're talking about a Sitka blacktail being your best, considered your best trophy, that says something about how hard you've hunted them, and also what it takes to go be successful, at hunting these Sitka blacktail.
Well, I almost fainted on the 26th of August. It was late in the afternoon, and I was climbing a hill, and I looked off to my right, and here's this buck about 200 yards away feeding with some other deer, and he had a 10-inch drop tine on one side and points sprouting out of the bases, and the bases looked like baseball bats, and I just couldn't believe what I was looking at. I didn't think that it was possible that a Sitka buck could have that much bone on his head.
Wow.
Yeah. And then about 2 hours later, I made a big circle, got the wind right, crawled up, waited for him to stand up in his bed at 33 yards, and shot him right in the center of the chest. And I mean, nobody saw me dancing all over the mountain, but I was making some major moves, I could tell you.
That is fantastic. That is, and just a shout out, because I know the answer, and they're a good partner of ours. What kind of bow did you shoot this new world record with?
The Bear Alaskan compound.
Bear Alaskan.
Yeah, I've been shooting that bow for about a year, and Bear has a lot of good bows in their inventory, but I started hunting back in the 70s, and one of my first bows was the old Bear Alaskan. It was 46 inches axle to axle. It was a 4-wheel finger bow. And I'm shooting that Alaskan part because it's so sentimental to me that Bear introduced the Alaskan last year, and I was able to grab the new Alaskan and go hunt with it. And it's an awesome bow. I got to tell you, it's scary accurate.
And I think you have to note, Jason, that right now, and this is something that, Bear we discussed when we discussed all this. Chuck was a major kind of crossover point between the two of these, but right now, if you buy a Bear archery bow, they're such a believer in the mission of Pope and Young that they're going to personally pay for your first year's membership. All you've got to do is go register that bow. So if you've bought a Bear in the past, or if you're looking at new bows, consider that, because when you register that bow, your Bear Archery is going to buy your first year's membership to Pope and Young.
That's quite the commitment. Another thing that Chuck, I just every time we get to visit, I just become more and more in awe. And I've been in awe of your accomplishments for a long, long time. And I look at this, and for me, when you look at the Bear lineup of bows, the Alaskan is not there. You could hunt it with any bow you want to hunt with. That's not their top of the line, most expensive bow that they make. That is a very price-minded, it's a quality bow, but it's not what you would consider, quote unquote, their flagship, of their lineup. And I look at it and I'm like, here's somebody who could shoot any bow he wants. How good is this? How good are the new Bear bows that you're taking one that's in the middle of their lineup and going out and shooting 2 new world records, 2-3 world record quality animals in 1 year? That's just
my philosophy's always been, Jason, simple and dependable is better when you hunt. And sure, I've shot top of the line bows off and on my whole life, but the Alaskan is simple and dependable. And I mean, I can hit my thumbnail at 20 yards with that bow and the Trophy Ridge release that I'm using. I don't know how you could beat that. For no nonsense hunting, there's very little to go wrong and everything to go right with that bow.
Yeah, well, and it just goes to show you. I mean, for the folks that want something, they want to go spend a lot of money on a bow, you can do it, but you do not have to do that. You do not have to buy the most expensive in the lineup, a high top quality product.
I agree, and I'm not going to knock any high quality products. They'll get the job done too. Yeah. But like I say, I'm hunting with that Alaskan in part. Number one, anybody can afford that bow, and part of my job as a writer and a communicator is to try to help the general public be better bow hunters. Anybody can go out without mortgaging their house and getting that bow, and going out and doing a fantastic job. And then it's sentimental with me because it is the Alaskan, same name as the bow I shot over 40 years ago.
Wow. That's outstanding. I love that story. I mean, it's just, well, you got a lot of stories, but that one to me is fantastic. And then to go out and intentionally target a certain type, I would have to look. I know at one point before we added, you've probably skewed these numbers now, but before we added non-typical Sitka deer to the lineup, the least entered animal, more people entered polar bears and some of these other things than entered non-typical Columbia blacktails. And, you know, Sitka is new, and, you know, or the Sitka non-typical is something we just brought out a couple of years ago. And so, wow, how exciting is this to see this movement? And for us on the organization side of things, you know, anytime there's a world record or a potential world record, there's a buzz, there's an excitement. And then all of a sudden now you're looking, so if we go chronologically, technically you would have broken the world record on the 8th of August. Is that right?
I believe. Don't quote me on that. Well, you are quoting me on that.
Okay.
I think it was around the 8th of August. Yes.
Okay. So around the 8th of August, you shot what we expect to be confirmed at panel is a new world record on the 8th of August.
No, the 26th.
No, the first one.
Yeah, the first one was scored the net. The initial score here, the official score is 96 plus. And then my second deer in mid-August, I think it was the 17th of August, scored 93 plus. Bear in mind the world record that Jack Frost has held scored 89 and 5/8. So I beat it twice. And then on the 26th of August you get 3 deer tags in Alaska on Kodiak Island. So on the 26th, I had 1 tag left in my pocket. I was due to fly out on the 29th. And that's when I ran into that monster. So it was the third deer I got. Yeah.
So, and then you were saying I know there's another rumor out there that somebody else shot one between your 3 that would have beaten your first one that beat Jack. So basically you beat a world record around the 8th of August, and then a few days later got the number 2. Mm-hmm. And then at some point in time in there, somebody shot one which would have been ahead of your current world record at that time. Mm-hmm. That then a week later you went and broke again.
That was Bob Amin, who's known in the industry as Blacktail Bob, because his favorite animal to hunt is blacktail deer, Sitka blacktail in particular. And I was sitting in my tent. I was in my tent about 60% of the time with fog and driving rain. It was a horrible August, and I had to just hunt a day or two in between storms the whole time. But I was in the tent, and I talked to my wife, Greta, on the satellite phone, and she said, I heard that through bow sight that maybe Bob Amin had shot a deer over 100 inches, non-typical. And I thought, well, that's great for Bob, maybe not so great for me. But I was posting from the tent, and I posted that records are meant to be broken, and I'm happy for Bob if the score holds up. And at the time I was hearing it was about 104-inch deer, and I think it's well over 100 still. But then on the 26th, I shot one that blows that away.
You're just like, no, I will not be overcome on this trip.
No, I'll be honest with you. It was the 26th of August. And I was due to fly out on the 29th. And I had decided that I was going to shoot any solid Pope and Young I found.
Right.
Okay. At that point. And the one I found was the monster. And that is luck. I mean, that's just luck.
You know, okay. That may be luck, but you make your own luck, because most people aren't going to be in the right position. Most people would not have the experience that you have to get themselves in that position to be in the area for a buck like that. So it's, there may be some luck involved, but I think a lot of times you make your own luck. And when you're on a 30-day hunt and 20 some days into it, you're getting the big one. Dylan, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is a little easier story to hear about a world record than the last one, where it's like, oh man, it's the first deer I saw, and I'm like,
stumbled upon it.
I could shoot a world record.
Yeah.
So anyway, so that world record was broken potentially 3 times in 1 month this year. But you set the bar pretty high. I mean, 20. There's the potential. That's what we said, the largest percentage that a world record has ever been broken by. We'll have to verify that. I got some of my records guys right now are cussing at us because they're like, no, that's confirmed. Let's go through panel. But there's
I will tell you that Ron Najalik, my buddy in Cody, measured the hard-horned current world record, non-typical Sitka deer, and panel bumped that deer up about 2 inches. So Ron tends to be pretty conservative on this stuff. So my guess is his score is going to be pretty close, or maybe even a little low for what ends up. You never know, but Ron is a conservative measurer.
Yeah, that's, and it's nice to hear that, because I think panel in the past has gotten a bad rap from, wow, you send your stuff to panel and it goes down. It's because it does go the other way. And that's nice to hear that, ultimately we owe it to the records program to make sure that whatever number is printed in that book is a correct number, whatever it is. And so it's good to hear that one went up a couple points. That's what's next.
Next is I'm going to do another podcast with you guys just before hunting season. So I figure maybe my good luck with the podcast will hold.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
You know what? We'll save you a spot anytime you want it.
All right.
Jason,
I just love hunting the same animals that I enjoy the most over and over. I plan to go back to Kodiak in August again. I don't know where I'm going to go yet. I think I might have wiped out the gene pool where I was last August, but hopefully I'll draw an elk tag or two and some pronghorn tags and mule deer tags, and then I'll be, of course, whitetail hunting in December with you guys. Yeah, Oklahoma, darn right, Liberty Ranch.
Man, that's going to be great. And
I'll tell them about the raffle, Jason.
For anybody who hasn't heard of it, here is. I've been running raffles and giveaways and drawings and sweepstakes for 30 plus years. And the ones that seem to be the coolest, where people really get excited and I get excited, are the ones where you can win something that you cannot buy. Because let's face it, if you really want to go hunt whitetails in Oklahoma, you can go buy a trip. But you cannot buy a trip to go hunt with Chuck Adams. So this is something you can win it. You can't buy it. It's hard to put a price on that. And I'm excited. I think this is going to be great. I know the ranch is good. They're excited. Every time we talk to these guys, they're talking about descent. They're like, oh man, we can't wait for everybody to get here. It's going to be such a great hunt. I know we're excited about it. And we're drawing this thing at convention. So, we're going to have, Chuck, we're going to get you up on stage and literally announce the winner live from Reno in April. And man, how exciting. Because either somebody's going to be in that room and they're going to go. I mean, you think people went crazy on The Price is Right. Imagine, Dylan, imagine them drawing your name out to go out with Chuck.
You might see me do a cartwheel.
I'm telling you.
Plus, this is a great place. 7,000 acres, free ranging bucks. 160s are not uncommon there. I mean, that is a big deer.
Yeah. They manage it properly, and they care. Like when you talk to some, I'm not saying there's outfitters that don't care, but some of them care more, and these guys, they're out trying to let everybody kill a world record, but they want to put quality animals in front of every person they have there. And they're like, hey, not all bow hunters are created equal, but we've got to give you the opportunity. And that's what's exciting, is they want to give everybody the opportunity at a quality animal. So
let me just say, I've hunted there twice, and it's phenomenal. Twice 2 years.
Man,
I've went several times, but dude, the accommodations are incredible. Some of the prettiest cabins ever. There's not many outfitters where I take my wife and kids with me, just because it's not comfortable. There's not, but this place, dude, is, as far as accommodations go, world class.
Yeah. Hey, Dylan, how we ask everybody on this show, what is one non-traditional item that you take with you?
Yeah.
And you know how I always avoid answering that?
Yep.
I have my answer.
What is it?
If I want to hunt with Chuck Adams, you know what I'm bringing? A Sharpie.
Yeah.
Because I'm getting everything signed. That's
Chuck, have you ever signed anybody's forehead? Have you ever autographed a forehead?
No, but several other body parts. I had a guy at the Harrisburg Sports Show come up, and he wanted me to sign his cheek, and I said, well, why on earth? He said, I'm going to go right out and get that tattooed in. If you could believe that. I never saw him again, but he had tattoos all over his body already, so I assume he went ahead and did it.
I'm telling you, if you have either a Pope and Young or a Chuck Adams tattooed on your person, you get a hold of Dylan at pope-young.org, and we want to have you on the show. So if you're listening, you have either a Chuck Adams tattoo or a Pope Young tattoo or a Jason or Dylan tattoo, we'll open that up too. So I was at a training years ago, and it was a general managers conference. I think it was in Dallas, Texas. And it was this company, and they said, you know what? Our goal is we want to be legendary. We want to be the type of company. And the example they use is Harley Davidson. They said, Harley Davidson is a legend. It transcends the brand. People tattoo this on themselves. Mm-hmm. So how does that feel to be the kind of living legend that somebody would tattoo your signature on their person?
I thought
that's got to make you feel
kind of weird, I think, but
yeah, that's somebody wouldn't do that if there wasn't a lot of respect involved.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I saw another guy at a show that had my name. He had kind of a buzz cut, and he had my name in his hair. It was shaved into his head, which was interesting too. So it happens. Yeah. It's flattering. It's definitely flattering.
That's pretty cool, man. Dylan, anybody tattoo your name on them yet?
No, not at all.
Okay. All right.
I don't think I could pay somebody. Nope.
Maybe we do that. Let's get a tattoo person, bring them to Reno, and if you want to have a Pope and Young tattoo or a Chuck Adams tattoo, we'll pay for it.
Yeah. I like it.
I think that'd be cool. Maybe we'll look at that. I'm probably not getting one, but I still think it's cool. So what other experiences have you had like that? So,
a lot of people want me to sign on their arm, or their T-shirt, or their hand. I autograph all kinds of archery items. That's the most common thing. Release aids and finger gloves and arm guards and stuff like that. And a lot of bows.
You'll be signing my bow when we're there in Oklahoma.
Yeah. A lot of bows.
I'm gonna bring a hat. I don't usually wear a white hat when I'm big game hunting, but I might, just so it stands out.
That's what I'm talking about.
That's
There you go.
Hold on, Jay. I got to grab something.
All right. That's that's a pretty good story.
Mhm.
So, well, just real quick while Dylan's grabbing something, if you don't have your tickets to hunt with the living legend Chuck Adams, we still have some available online. Look at that.
There you
That's
go.
awesome. That's awesome. Great book. I'll tell you what, if you're a bow hunter and you haven't read this book, you're doing yourself a disservice. Go check this one out.
This stays beside my dad's bedside. I'm like, Dad, that's kind of weird, but it's right beside his bed, so I can read it every night. It's a great book.
Yeah.
Phenomenal book.
So anyway,
Especially when it's signed.
Yeah, no kidding. No, I can't wait. I think either somebody's going to be literally doing cartwheels up to the front of that stage in Reno when we draw this, or when we call somebody, and we'll do a face live on that, and we will let Chuck say hi. If they don't answer, or if they do, hi, this is Chuck Adams. You want to go hunting?
Yeah.
Imagine getting that call. And then it's like, would you rather get that call and answer it and actually get the phone call from Chuck Adams saying, hey, you want to go hunting? And you're like, absolutely. Or would you rather miss the call so you have that on your voicemail and you literally have that on voicemail forever? Hey,
the rest of your
this
life.
is Chuck Adams. I'm looking for, Jim Smith. Jim, you want to go bow hunting with me? I mean, how cool would that be?
Yeah.
I'd play that everywhere. I would do a loop of that at ATA. So yeah, here's let me play voicemail. Here's Chuck Adams inviting me hunting in Oklahoma for whitetails.
By the way,
anyway,
you can go on my website, chuckadamsarchery.com, and order books and other things autographed if you so desire.
So say that one again, Chuck.
chuckadamsarchery.com is my website, and you can order things like autographed books and posters and other items on there.
And we will put the link for that raffle. If you want to buy your tickets for that raffle, it's in the description of this episode. If you're on YouTube, just scroll down to the description. Anywhere you're listening to this, it's in the description so you can buy your tickets. Guys, we're talking $20. Like, we're not talking hundreds of dollars. We're talking the best $20 you could ever spend, because for $20, you could be shooting giant whitetails with Chuck Adams.
Yeah.
Best $20 you'll ever spend.
There's been a lot of activity on my social media over this raffle, Chuck Adams Archery Official, for both Instagram and Facebook. And a lot of people are saying they've already purchased tickets.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
It's exciting. And it's, like I said, it's one of those things. It's neat to be able to win something you can't buy. And so anyway, for the stuff you can buy, check out, we'll put a link to Chuck's site up there too. Dylan, if you can take care of that, that'd be great. And then they can go
Sure can.
check out what Chuck has to offer. How many years have you been bow hunting?
57.
57.
And I know that because you need to put that down on the info sheet with your entries. And so I had to go back and look this year. Yeah. And it's 57.
57.
Yep.
And what do you remember what year you entered your first animal in Pope and Young?
I do not. I didn't enter animals for a while. And Jim Doherty, the president of Pope and Young years and years ago, encouraged me to do that. I'm guessing I shot my first Pope and Young animal in the 1970s. I probably entered in the mid 80s. The first one, it was a moose from British Columbia. And I shot that moose with the old Bear Alaskan bow.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Now, do you ever, I know with the Sick Kid Blacktail, you just love hunting them. Do you ever look through the book and say, you know what? That's a world record that I think can be broken, and just say, I'm going to go try that. Have you ever thought about that?
I have 4 of the 7 world records. Assuming the 7th one is the world record, right. 4 of the 7 were deliberately targeted like that. I broke the world record on Sitka deer in 1986, a hard-horned typical buck, and I deliberately thought that record could be broken. Mountain caribou in the mid-90s, I went back 10 years to try to break the world record on mountain caribou because I knew it could be done, and finally I got it done in 1995. The bison that I shot in Arizona in the year 2000 was targeted. I deliberately went after that because I thought Pete Shepley's record, which had stood for a number of years, could be broken. And then this last one, if it holds up, number 7, I deliberately went after non-typical deer.
Nice.
Yeah.
Now, when you're counting 7, does that include both of the non-typicals, or are you just including the one?
No, I'm just talking the genuine. It provided, which I think is likely to happen, provided this 7th one becomes the world record. I'm counting ones that are official world records.
Okay.
The Sitka buck from 1986 was the official world record. I shot a Cow's whitetail deer in Arizona in 1989 that became the official world record, typical deer. The mountain caribou in the mid 90s that I mentioned, the bison in 2000 I mentioned, then the world record American elk that I shot in Montana in the year 2000. That was, again, that I didn't go after that on purpose. I mean, you don't stumble onto an animal that big that gross scored over 430. That was just an accident that I ran into. I was hunting a good area, but that was it. So yeah, all of those are official. And then of course, 2001, my velvet typical Sitka that we've talked about before. That was not on purpose. I just came around a corner, and as I told you guys then, it was the first deer I saw on that trip.
That's great. That gives all of us inspiration.
Yeah.
It gives all of us hope for getting a world record.
Yes, it does.
That's I don't know, Dylan. I'm telling you, if I shoot a world record on the 8th and then I shoot a bigger one on the 28th, I'm counting that as 2. I'm saying that's 7 and 8. And we you know what? We should call Tim and Roy and we should say, guys, when you measure everything at panel, measure this one first. So we have a world record announcement.
That's been a topic of discussion.
I know it has.
How do you do it?
We're the marketing guys. So for us, it's pretty easy. It's like, that's 2 separate world records. You broke it and then you broke it again.
Man.
And then Bob may have one in the middle there. So it may be 3.
There you
Chuck
go.
is single-handedly giving us too much press, single-handedly feeding us too much bow hunting news for a day.
Yeah. And hey, here's another piece of news. If you're ever interested in hunting Sitka blacktail deer, I'm gonna give you a tip. Chuck's coming to convention, and I've never known him not to visit with folks that were interested. Number 2, we have Bob Amin and Frank Noska doing a seminar on how to hunt blacktail deer. So if you want to get the best information that you can get in the entire world, you want to be in Reno for this convention. I don't know. I mean, where else could you go to get that kind of knowledge?
And, for me, what's invaluable is you go to some of these big shows and it's inevitable. Those guys are kind of closed off. They have certain times where you can come talk to them at certain booths and, all that good stuff. But at Pope and Young, you sit down and you're like, oh, I'm having dinner with Frank, or, oh, here's Tom Miranda that just sat next to me.
Yeah, they're
so accessible and so just ready to talk bow hunting with anybody and everybody. I literally had a guy and he said, man, I would love to come, but it's not like I'm going to get a chance to talk to those guys. I'm like, trust me, you will. If you want to talk to them, you can talk to them.
Yeah. I had somebody in there talking about Jack Frost, who's, another legendary bow hunter guy he's done things with the bow and arrow most of us can't even imagine. And some of them, he was one of the first guys to do it. And I had somebody talk to me, and I think it was after Omaha, and he says, "Man, you'll never believe it. I sat down and I was just having a conversation with this guy, and I'm telling him all about my hunting, and he was genuinely interested. And then I forgot to introduce myself, and I said, 'Hi, I'm so and so.' And he says, 'Oh, hi, I'm Jack Frost.' And he's like, 'What do you say when you're bragging to Jack Frost about your bow hunting prowess?' He's like, 'Can I just have that one back?' But it was kind of neat because he's like, literally, he just sat down, didn't recognize Jack apparently, and was just having a conversation with him. And how cool is that?
It's the nice thing about Pope and Young is the convention is we're very relaxed, and like, you know, Jack, the last time I was there, Jack was floating around the floor every day talking to folks.
Yep.
Frank Noska was, Bob Amin was. It's very, even when Donald Trump Jr. was there, he was accessible. He was walking around. He was the keynote speaker, and he wasn't sequestered in his room except when he was on stage. For a buddy of mine in Cody has a picture with him at the convention. So that's just the way it is there. It's an awesome event.
Yeah, I have a picture with him because I threatened my buddy Dave. I'm like, if you do not get a picture of me sitting next to Donald Trump Jr. for dinner, I said, you're going to be in trouble. So that's right. No, it's neat. And it is, you know, you guys bring up a good point. I've been around the industry for a long time. I've been to conventions everywhere, and I've never seen it to where it is kind of inclusive to the point it's almost the opposite of what we're quote unquote known for. You know, Pope and Young is supposedly this ultra exclusive club, et cetera, et cetera. And while it's not necessarily easy to get, well, it's easy to become a member. It's not necessarily easy to get in the record books, but it is the opposite of exclusive when you're at convention. When you're at convention, everybody's there for the same thing. I mean, you just go out and start talking to anybody, and it probably was, it's probably the one that is most like that, and probably the most opposite of what a lot of people would probably expect it to be, more than anything else that I'm aware of.
Right. Well, you're talking down to earth people. The people there are just down to earth, good people. And then the displays. I mean, the displays of the big animals alone are worth the trip. I just walk around with my jaw dropped looking at the caribou and the moose and the big elk and mule deer and other critters. It's amazing. Yeah.
Just a note on the display this year. So last time we had 125. Oh man, here's a challenge. I'm going to throw this challenge at Tim. Okay, so Chuck, knowing that you potentially broke world record by the largest margin in the history of world records, I think we're pretty darn close to doing that with our animal displays. Last time I think we had 125 or 128. And there's some tremendous trophies. That ballroom was full. This year, we're looking at upwards of 170 plus trophies.
Oh, wow.
So you're talking about a 35% increase? I'm going to throw a challenge out to Tim. Insane. I'm going to say, I'm challenging you to get a big trophy display increase than what Chuck Adams breaks the world record by, percentage-wise. So... And knowing Tim, he's going to glam onto that. He'll love that. So that's so Chuck, have you looked recently? What's the next world record that's most likely to fall in your opinion? Or what's the most attainable perhaps?
Boy, that's tough to say. You know, mountain caribou is still very, very breakable. The problem with mountain caribou is the hunting areas are very limited and it's very expensive to go anymore. But I broke the world record in 1995, and then it was broken again one time a few years later but only by about 3 inches. And there are bigger mountain caribou running around every year than the current world record. I think that's one of the most attainable ones. But you've got to hire a guide, and you've got to pay some money to even have an opportunity to do that. I think Sitka deer is still there. I think there's opportunity in all 4 categories. Maybe the least, hopefully the least being the one that I just shot. But there's bigger animals running around out there. Maybe not every year, but when they have a good winter and the antlers get 5 to 10% bigger, I think it's a possibility still.
Now, how about, I know I was looking through, and keep in mind, I'm still chasing my first world record of my 7 or none, whichever that ends up being. And as I was looking through the book, I believe, especially with these velvet categories, when you look, I believe it's the moose, the Canada moose. It just seems like there are some world records in there now that we've added velvet that have the potential for somebody to go get them. And I know some of these animals, there's not a big window for harvesting velvet. You know, so some of these places, if you don't get a big mature animal in the first,
like whitetails,
first few days or maybe the first week, all of a sudden they're gone. You just don't have the opportunity. So,
well, and Jason, I think that is important to know, like the importance of entering your animals. We were at ATA just 2 weeks ago, and we ran into this kid, and we were talking with him, hanging out, and we're actually going to head there and hunt in Kentucky together. But this kid was like, "Yeah, dude, I've got this big of a deer, velvet, with my bow," and I'm like, look at in the trophy search. I'm like, dude, that's top 3 all time for velvet whitetails. And he's like, "Are you serious?" And I'm like, "Yes." And he's like, "Okay, I'm gonna go get it entered." And I'm like, "Why didn't you do that in the first place? Like, you would have known that in the first place." Like, some of these guys have massive animals and they don't even realize what they have, but when you get it measured, it just authenticates everything. Like there is no more like dispute. There is no more arguing with your buddies over who has the biggest deer. No, mine's 100% verified. Like, this is what it scores.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I shot a, officially measured, entered, certified, 185. So you know what? You know how big that is? That's 185.
185.
And then your buddy who shoots a 240, you know what that officially measured is? Nothing. Probably a 160. I mean, and you see them. You see people who are, "Oh yeah, I got a 200-inch mule deer," and you're like, that's 145. That's not a 200-inch mule deer. Oh, well, my guide told me this. Well, you
hadn't tipped him yet either.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, and I hear that. I hear it, and this is, I know there's good outfitters out there and taxidermists that probably are official measures, but I'll tell you what, the 2 numbers, when I hear them, that are the most off, and they're never lower, is like, if you have your guide measure something, he has a vested interest for you to be happy. And a lot of people, the bigger the number, the happier they are. And the other one is a taxidermist. Like, if he tells you it's a 200-inch buck, you're going to have it mounted. If he tells you it's 164 and 2/8, maybe I'll think about it. So, I mean, I'm not saying there aren't great ones out there, and I know we have official measures that do that, but I'll tell you what, I've seen some backdoor scored stuff from those guys that have been, 20-30 inches off.
Well, I looked at an elk last year that the outfitter told the guy was 404 inches. It was a non-typical elk, and he had never had it officially measured. And I'm not an official measurer, but I kind of know how to measure. And I put a tape on it. That elk was 355,
which is a tremendous bull. But that was the 404.
That was the gross score. And I didn't even check on the net, but yeah, what a huge difference, right?
50-inch difference.
Yep. And the guy believed it.
What did you ever tell him what it really
I did
was?
not. I did not. I didn't want to break his heart. I told him he should go get it officially measured. But it was a gun bull too, so it wouldn't have even made the record book.
My biggest thing is so many people message the Pope and Young Instagram, and they're like, "Hey, what do you think this will score?" And I'm like, "Well, first off, we're not in the whole thinking game. Like Pope and Young doesn't play the what do we think it scores game. And if we did, I'm not the guy to guess it. Like I'm not the one that's going to do that for you, because my answer is big enough. Like that's what
That's a tag puncher. We call those tag punchers.
That's what they want. They just want somebody to say, "Oh, it's this." That way they can run off and tell people that. But I'm like, you know what? I can't tell you what it scores because I'm not good at that. But what I can tell you is that it's worth being measured because it's going to make it. Like I can look at a 150 whitetail and say, you know what? I don't know what it's going to score, but I can tell you that it'll make our books. So you should definitely have it entered. That's what I'll tell you. And then you can see throughout history where it compares with the rest of the animals. And that's my answer to all of them is like, we don't have to guess. Do pay your $40, get it officially measured. And for the life of that book, for the rest of history, there's no guessing. There's no, my guide told me it scored. No, it scores 150. Yeah. Look right here.
Yeah.
One thing I've always liked about Pope and Young is the precision with which those animals are scored too. Compared to other record books, I won't mention any other record clubs, but specifically, Pope and Young has always been the most precise. I don't think I've ever seen a mistake made in the record book entries. The multiple person panels verify everything in the largest animals. And when you get your final score, that is the right score. And
if you look on our website, I was just on the website and I looked at world records when Jason asked the question, what world records do we think can be broken? At the top of that website, it says every single one of these have been verified at panel, and there will not be anything listed here that has not been verified at panel. Nothing here will ever just be listed because, we believe Chuck and his entry fee. That's not. This will be verified before it's announced and put up as a world record. And that to me speaks volumes about, Tim and the rest of the measures that we have and Roy. I mean, it just goes to show how seriously they take these numbers. It's not a guessing game. It's not something to just be thrown around. So,
and that's too, if you look at a potential world record, these just happen to come in and we had a panel coming up. But if somebody were to shoot one next year without a panel coming up, we special panel those animals. We fly people in. We fly Tim or Roy to a location with hopefully some local measures so that we don't charge people for that. That's something that we cover. And it's not like, it's $40 to enter your animal unless it's a potential world record. And then we've got to charge $850 so that we can fly somebody over to panel measure it. I mean, that's how particular we are and how seriously we take this is that, these are things that if we don't have a panel coming up, we'll create one for a potential world record.
Which is exactly what you guys did with my world record typical Sitka in 2001. I shot that deer in August, and in early December, I drove to Rock Springs, Wyoming, where a 5-person panel rescored that deer, because if you wait too long, velvet animals tend to keep shrinking, and you guys wanted to verify the score as quickly as possible.
Yeah,
and that's really important. Roy and Tim and everybody else, they're awesome about making sure that things are scored properly and in a reasonable time frame.
Yeah. That's probably why I'm not a measure. You too, Dylan, because we're kind of like, oh man, sure, it's an 8th. Yeah, we'll round up. Those guys are. Yeah. You mentioned precision. It is. I'm not a finished carpenter, and I'm not a measure.
When I hang something on the wall, like if it's a 1/4 inch, 3/4 inches, even. I mean, just nail it up. Who cares? It might be off a little bit, but and dude. Like I got to experience panel, and those guys, like, oh my gosh, dude! I'd let them do surgery on me. They're precise.
Yeah, it's amazing, and they take such pride in it. I'm not so sure that some of these measures, I mean, we got some amazing measures. I mean, guys that do hundreds of animals and intricate animals. I mean, just all kinds of stuff. These guys take a pride in this, like if they had shot it themselves. Like there is as much pride in getting that animal measured correctly as there is in getting that animal basically in the back of the truck. It having been around it now, it just amazes me at the professionalism of these guys. And our measures, our official measures, they're all volunteers. They pay their own way to come take a 3 or 4 day measuring course to learn how to do the intricacies of everything. Whitetails, mule deer, elk. And as a novice guy, I was shocked that, because I was figured, oh, well, whitetails are probably pretty basic. You know, they have a certain platform, and one of the most intricate because of the numbers of variations you see. And it's just, and then you see some of this non-typical stuff. And I mean, the one that I use as an example on that is that butcher buck. That thing to me looked like a bomb went off on the top of some poor deer's head. Mm-hmm. And we had 3 teams panel measure that, and all, was it 2/8 or 3/8? So on what, 300 inches of antler, knowing that a 1% variation would be 3 inches, I believe they were within 3/8. All 3 combined, the spread between all 3 was 3/8 of an inch. And I'm like, that's insane.
You know, Jason, I just recently experienced that, where I got off the phone and he had no idea who I was. I didn't tell him who I was, who I worked for, what I did for a living. But I called one of our measurers. I got on, search for a measure. The closest one's like 2.5 hours. And I was like, hey, his name's Marvin Whitehead. So Marvin, if you ever listen to this, keep doing what you're doing, man. But I called him and I said, hey, my name's Dylan Ray, and I live 2.5 hours from you. So I want to bring all of I've got 6 I want to bring to you and get measured. And he's like, okay, yeah, we could do that. And I'm like, I said, but I also have 3 buddies, and we just want to load all of them up because we do have to travel 2.5 hours. We just want to do it all, get them all there. I'm like, I think we have 32 trophies we want to bring. And he was like, well, that's going to take me a couple days. But yeah, I'm all yours for the 2 days you need me. And I was just like, man, like, here's this guy just gets a random phone call. And he's like, yeah, you and your buddies come up. I'll spend 2 days measuring all of your animals without getting paid a dime because I'm so passionate about this. And I was just like, deal, done. We'll be there. But that's the kind of commitment that I was just like, I literally got off the phone and I like looked at all my friends and I'm like, I'm proud of our measures. Like, yes. that made me proud to say that's one of our measures.
Yeah.
And the experience that some of these people have is amazing. I was talking to Larry Strife the other day, a senior member in the he's still listed as a curator of the Pope and Young Museum. Yes. Although the stuff has been moved to Bass Pro Shop now. Larry, don't hold me to this, but I think he told me he'd been at 27 panel measuring sessions in a row. He'd never missed one. He'd never missed one.
Still hasn't.
No. You think that guy doesn't have experience at measuring every kind of animal known to man? It's just amazing.
He was on. I think he was on the one that measured the butcher buck. The team that did the butcher buck.
I think one of the panels was Larry Strife in Glenn
Heisey.
Yeah.
Glenn Heisey,
And you look at Glenn Heisey and Larry Strife, if there are 2 people who know more about measuring out there, I don't know who they are. And
I believe
these guys.
I was standing there watching this, and Roy walks up over my shoulder, and he's like, you'll never see anything like that again. Those 2 guys right there. You'll never see that again. And I was just like, wow. Like, it's serious, man.
Yeah. So that's it is. It's impressive. I've been around a couple of panels now, and the precision dedication, it's like I said, it's unlike anything that I thought it would be like.
Yeah.
It is definitely not a tailgate measuring where you slap a tape on something. Oh yeah, it's 404 elk. Yeah, it's 355, but who's counting? Well, Pope and Young's counting.
And then you get a beautiful certificate after it's measured. And if you want to pop a little extra money, you can just get a gorgeous laser engraved hardwood plaque to put on the wall with the whole.
How many plaques do you got, Chuck? How many plaques are you rocking?
Well, I've got 220 certificates.
Have you got a plaque for all of them?
No, I don't have plaques for any of them. But I told Greta the other day. Oh, you mean the plaques that are presented at Pope and Young? I couldn't even tell you how many awards I've got.
Wow.
Dylan, let's just say that. Yeah, Chuck didn't have to buy lumber to build his last cabin.
Well, I will have 7 animals.
That was a good one, Jay. That's a good one.
and it'd be good hardwood too.
Yeah. So you're going to have 7 at panel.
I'm going to have 7 at all 6 of my last 2 years. Sitka deer will be at Pope and Young. The one world record's already been paddled, and the other 5 will be paddled. And then I have a Wyoming bison that's to be measured there. So I do have quite a few plaques. But when I want to have my world record animal measuring forms laser engraved in wood here in the next few months. I was talking to Greta about that the other day because those displays are so awesome to look at.
Wait until you see. We're redoing our trophies this year.
Oh, really?
And so before you go out and get anything done, check them out because they are going to be hot. I think you're going to love it. I think you're going to say, wow, I was going to go have something laser engraved, and this is cooler.
It's awesome.
Literally, it's neat. And a lot of what's cool about that is it's a world record, or even a top 5 animal for a panel. That's an impressive feat. Mm-hmm. But the new ones, Jim Willems, past president, Merritt Compton, board member, Krista in our office, they have gone out. They've sourced some new trophies, some new plaques, and these things are hot. These are the kind of things that you want to display because they just look gorgeous. So I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. I hope so. If not, let me know because that's what we want. We want somebody saying, well, heck yeah, I'm going to put that on my wall next to my trophy because it looks
Well, we've
gorgeous.
always said it's your animal is worth getting entered. Like you deserve it, that animal to get entered. And so, I remember being part of that conversation. It was like, these animals are worth that. Like they deserve this incredible plaque. Like they deserve us to build this for them.
And so we are stepping up our game. So we're
that's great. And this is for first, second, third, honorable mention, all of them. Is that correct? Okay.
Yeah. The whole line. Our court, some of the other folks, we can't do it without, convention be happening without our outfitter partners and, the raffle, we wouldn't be able to hold raffles and some of the things we do without our outfitter partners. We're stepping up those awards. We're stepping up the corporate partners. If we don't have the Faradines and the Bear Archeries and the Scent Locks and the Baku bikes, if these companies aren't stepping up for bow hunting, we can't do what we need to do to preserve, promote, and protect. And so, we looked at it and we recognized, and the board had the foresight to say, you know what, we're better than what we're giving out, and we need to show that.
That's awesome.
So we've redone them.
I'll look forward when Greta and I attend the convention in Reno. I'll look forward to seeing those. Yeah.
Are you going to drive to that so you have enough room for all your plaques?
I am going to drive to that because the last plan is for me to take my animals to Reno driving, have them paneled, bring them all back, and then drive them back to the convention in April because the containers for those animals, I don't think I could get in my vehicle.
Okay.
And shipping is a pain in the butt. So, yeah, I'm planning to drive there.
Okay. Are you driving down to Panel? Or I heard you may have somebody else deliver some stuff for you.
You're asking me?
Yes.
No, I'm driving to Panel. Ron.
Oh, you are? Excellent.
Ron Najalik was honored to be one of the panel measures this year. And so he and I are going to drive to Reno together in February. I'll drop my animals off, and then I'll pop over the hill into California and see my 99-year-old mom.
Nice.
Yeah, and then come back and pick Ron up after paneling is over. I say 99. She'll be 99 in May, but she's almost there.
That's great.
Yeah.
And that you never convinced her to move to Wyoming?
She doesn't like the idea of anything below 60 degrees Fahrenheit. So yeah. She still lives alone. She's still self-sufficient at 98 3/4 years old. So
yeah. Now, did your mom ever hunt?
Mom hunted with a rifle. She never hunted with a bow. I'm the only bow hunter in my family. My dad was a gun nut. My favorite story about my mom was she and dad were out hunting the blacktail migration in California one year, and she had a little 25-35 lever action rifle, and a buck came running by and she just slammed it and it went down, and they went down there. Dad looked at her rifle. He said, "You forgot to flip up the tang peep sight." And she just hosed that deer down without sights. She did a Fred Asbell. So she
nice.
Did with her
she
rifle.
Just looked over and winked. She didn't say anything.
Girl's a straight
winked.
Killer.
That's right. Yeah. Careful how you talk to me, hubby.
That's right. Yeah.
That's outstanding.
Yeah.
So, well, I'm for people who are coming up and they look at this and they think, holy smokes, I can't imagine going out and chasing world records like this. What kind of words of encouragement or wisdom do you have for those folks, Chuck?
I would just say the important thing is that you have fun. And like the old saying goes, 80% of success is showing up. So just get out there, have fun. When I started bow hunting, you were asking earlier how many big game animals I've shot with a bow. When I started out, I hunted 3 years before I even had a chance to shoot a deer. And I didn't think I'd ever see an arrow go into a deer. So when I shot that little forked horn buck when I was 16 years old, I was so thrilled you can't even believe it. The size of the trophy is between your ears when everything boils down. And any animal is a big game animal. That's a big game animal is a trophy animal if it's a trophy to you. If it's a doe or a cow elk or whatever, I would just say go out and have fun. If you end up like me, wanting more and more challenge, then you can start being picky about what you shoot because you can hunt more and kill less. And that's the important thing. And then at some point, maybe you'll say, you know what, I want to try to break a world record and I'm going to burn my tag if I don't do it. And you will probably burn your tag, but if that's what turns your crank, then do it.
Yeah. That's so next to the Sitka blacktail, what is, I know you mentioned earlier, you had a bunch of tags you're hoping for this year. If you could pick one, if you say, you know what, I want this tag, or at least for what animal would you pick the tag?
It would be the Montana elk tag, non-resident elk tag. You have to get the license and then you have to get the permit. It's two separate things that you have to get. The last time I had that combo was 2018. I used to be able to hunt elk in Montana every year, like back in 2000 when I shot the former world record. I've got some great places to go. As you guys know, Steve Felix has one of those unreachable, I believe, world records in Yellowstone elk that he shot in Montana in the general area where I like to hunt. I would love to go back and hunt elk there again. I've got 16 bonus points this year for the elk permit, but I'm not sure I'll get the big game license. It might be 2024 or 2025, but that's the one. If there's one tag I want, that's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's so of all the world records that you're looking at, what do you think are there any out there that are just unbreakable?
I really think Corky Richardson's world record bison might be unbreakable. It scores 129, and he broke my world record, which was 118. You got to understand the Boone and Crockett world record for bison is only 136. So
Okay.
He's 7 inches, and that was shot in the 1920s in Yellowstone Park when they could still hunt in Yellowstone Park. That might be unbreakable. I think Steve Felix's world record elk might never be broken. And Dylan was talking about people not knowing what they have. Steve told me he didn't know what he had when he shot that elk. He took it to the taxidermist, and the guy said, "Oh my gosh." And Steve was saying it's a nice elk, but he had no idea that it was going to blow away the world record. I mean, my world record was 409, and then there was one that was a few inches above that. And then Steve comes along and gets a 430 net elk. I mean, I doubt if that'll ever be broken.
Yeah. You know, the one that just, I don't know if it amazes me, but I guess surprises me is, and I believe that it's our longest standing world record. And that is a typical whitetail. That's the Mel Johnson buck.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And so you look at this is the number one animal entered into Pope and Young records.
By far.
It's like the far and away number one animal.
Mm-hmm.
And then you look at that and you're just like, that one, it's impressive how long that thing has held up, knowing how many people are out there with a chance to break it every year.
And that was shot in the 50s or 60s, wasn't it?
60s, yeah. I think it was 62 or something.
And there are so many. Well, you have a separate book this year for whitetail entries, correct? Because there's so many. You would think somebody would eclipse that, but with that kind of track record, you might be right. Might never be broken.
Yeah.
By the way, episode 39 of the Pope and Young podcast, we had Steve Felix on, and it's an incredible story. So jump back to episode 39 and listen to Steve Felix talk about that world record.
Yeah,
he's a great guy. I
had
the chance to talk to him the year he was crowned world record with his elk, and
that's cool.
He's a down to earth, just an awesome bow hunter.
Yeah,
he is. And you know, I don't know if it was the first. I think the first time I met Steve was on a mountainside in Idaho at a mountain archery festival. And here's a guy shot world records. He's literally up on the mountain with a couple of his buddies, coming in and shooting the course, shooting 3D courses in the off season, keeping sharp for that next one. Mm-hmm. And then he comes up and he says, "Oh," and we start talking. And then you realize who he is, and you're like, "Well, how cool is that?" Mm-hmm. And he had just shot the Pope and Young world record course that features his elk. So that was kind of a neat deal.
That is cool. And he's a serious bow hunter, and he took that elk on, as you guys know, on public land. So I mean, that's the kind of success story that everybody can be happy to hear.
Yeah, it gives the rest of us hope. You just never know.
Mm-hmm.
But well, Chuck, I'll tell you what, I'm so glad to get a chance to visit with you and have you on. It's always a pleasure to talk to you, and congratulations on another tremendous season and some tremendous trophies. And, I think the thing that stands out for me is that this is the one that you consider your greatest trophy. That says a lot right there.
Well, thank you. It's great to be with you, Jason. Great to be with you, Dylan. And I could tell you I have that head sitting on the dresser in my bedroom, and I look at it every night before I go to bed. And I have a position the way that deer looked at me before I shot him.
Really?
And I get chills every night looking at that deer. It just blows
That's
me away.
awesome. Well, I'll tell you what, Dylan, we're going to see it here. What, 3 weeks?
Yeah, panel.
Not
Can't
long.
wait.
We're going to get to see a bunch of your trophies and visit with a lot of the measures when we head to Reno for panel. And folks, if you're out there, there's some great opportunities coming up. This Reno convention is one you do not want to miss. It is the biggest display of animals we've ever had. We have, I'm not going to throw out a number, but the number of potential world records that could be announced from Reno this year is bigger than ever. And that's if they only count Chuck's once. I'd count them twice. But anyway, world records announced. We have lineups. We have guest speakers. I mean, you want to talk about blacktail hunt? We got Bob Amin and Frank Noski. You want to talk about, I mean, whatever it is, we have some of the best coming in to give seminars and talks. And we're very proud of the program we put together. We've got some world-class entertainment coming in. I mean, it's going to be a great time. You do not want to miss convention. If for some reason you cannot miss convention, we have the Living Legend Raffle where you can come hunting with Chuck Adams for whitetails, for trophy whitetails in Oklahoma. And, and we've got the convention raffle. Chuck, here's a question for you. So our convention raffle, which we're also going to be popping Saturday night in Reno. I don't expect either of these raffles to last until we get to Reno. I think they're both going to sell out. If you had to choose, so here's the convention raffle choices. So we'll let you choose.
Okay.
Option A is you get to hunt Yukon moose with McMillan River Adventures. Great trip. Mm-hmm. Option 2 is you can hunt mountain goat, brown bear combination hunt with Peter Barella. Option number 3 is going to Africa with Mott Schweer for a lion, Cape buffalo, sable, crocodile, lioness. And option number 4 is going to Rainy Pass Lodge with Steve Perrins and hunting Dall sheep, brown bear, caribou, and black bear. Which of those would you choose?
Can I go on all of them?
Yeah. You have to choose one. I'm telling you, there's not a bad one there.
I don't think I can. I've been looking for another really big moose for a long time. So option number 1, if you put a bow to my head, I'd probably pick option number 1, but they all are right up there.
I mean, whoever wins that they're going to be so excited. And then all of a sudden they're going to be heartbroken because they have to choose from those 4. And that is going to be, that's going to be a tough choice.
The easiest part is buying your tickets. The hardest part is picking if you win.
I'm telling you. And that one's going to sell out too. Both of these raffles will sell out. So we're excited about it. And that one, there's $200,000 worth of hunts on that raffle, and it's $100 ticket. So I once again, selfishly, I hope that whoever wins that's in the room. They don't have to be present to win, but you just hope they are, because I want to see them sweat when we make them pick on stage. And the other thing is, I think we've got all 4 of those outfitters coming to convention.
Yep.
So there are going to be 4 people sitting in the audience that are like, yeah, which one are you picking? So
another thing you guys didn't mention, don't you have a pretty large area with booths at the convention? Outfitter booths, and manufacturer booths, correct?
We do. Thanks for bringing that up. There's so many exciting things that you forget about something. I think we have 104 vendor booths this year. We have, absolute world-class outfitters from all over the world coming in. If you want to hunt Africa, we've got them. If you want to go hunt moose, Yukon moose, if you want to hunt Canada moose, most of the things that people want to chase, we're going to have. If you want to go hunt tahr in New Zealand or red stag in Argentina or water buffalo in Chile, we have those hunts. They're going to be, those outfitters will be with us in Reno. And the other thing is we've got a huge lineup for our auction. We're going to have auctions both Friday night, and then Saturday during the day is our big auction. And a lot of these trips, very similar trips, are available. So if you don't win it, you can buy it. If you don't buy it, there's still a chance you could win it. So whatever you're looking to chase, and especially if it's with a bow, we have some outfitters that they do both, but where we really shine is for a true bow hunter. If you want an outfitter who not only understands the difference between outfitting for a rifle and a bow, but accepts and encourages that, those are the folks that we have at our convention. And we're going to have, I think we've got about 40 or 50 outfitters and dozens of our corporate partners coming in for that. So thank you very much for mentioning that. Sometimes we forget that.
Absolutely.
But I can't wait to see the displays, see our outfitter partners, our corporate partners, and just all of our friends and members and the folks submitting trophies. So Chuck, thank you so much for being with us. We appreciate what you do as an ambassador for hunting and for bow hunting, and you're a fantastic ambassador for Pope and Young. And as always, we really appreciate what you do for the organization and for bow hunting as a whole.
Well, thank you guys very much, and hooray for Pope and Young.
Absolutely. Thanks so much.
You bet.
We'll talk soon.